Yes!
I win.
What?
You went lower?
No way.
Hello again, welcome back to the USA and to the latest show from our training camp. Today we've mixed things up slightly and I'm delighted to be joined by Assistant Manager Joe Edwards and First Team Coach Ashley Cole. Gents, thanks for joining us. We've got plenty of other action-packed incidents in the show for you, plenty of exclusive access in and around our camp, Aussie's not so famous quiz and our USA style shootout, plus much, much more. So let's get going. So Joe, Ashley, welcome. How are you both?
Hot.
Yeah, really good. Great to be back. Obviously, it was a tough end to the season, and I think in those final few weeks, we all just wanted to get it done and get a break. But then I think very quickly we all get bored and we're all desperate to get back into training. And it's great to be out here, great conditions, great facilities, and the lads have been training really well so far, so all good.
Yeah, you mentioned that training is in full swing. How is it going from your perspective?
It's going well. I think, there's little bits where we've continued from obviously the last season and the last 3 months we was in. But in terms of ramping up the physical stuff, I think, pre-season is predominantly about that, getting the fitness up, tweaking a few things, but ideally just making sure players are ready for game time.
We all know how important pre-season tours are. You just mentioned about getting the fitness out of the players, but how important is it to get them away, get them bonding as a team before the season gets going?
Yeah, really important, and even being around the camp in the last few days, such a different feeling to experience with this group from when we first came in. Obviously, when we came in the first couple of weeks, I think we did have that initial spell that you commonly get when a new management team go in somewhere, and there was a bit of a buzz, and I think it was probably the game at Tottenham away when we lost, and a few of the sort of negative thoughts from the period the team had been in started creeping in a bit, and then we fell into that period that we're in the final part of the season, and obviously it ended up being successful, if you like, that we worked our way out of it, but it was a tough period, and that pressure and attention you feel when you're in that is difficult. So now for everyone to sort of come back with a fresh start, looking forward to a season with a clean slate, you can definitely feel it around the group, and it's been really enjoyable.
You mentioned that the intensity of last season. How important for you both, with it being so consuming, I suppose, how important was for you as staff to unwind and mentally prepare yourselves and just have that little period before the season gets going again? Yeah,
it was tiring. I think just like the players, you have that initial buzz, excited and can't wait to get to work. But then, when games are not going your way and the 3 points that we desperately needed wasn't coming our way, then it was draining, but the lads stuck to it. Us as staff, constantly didn't stop working and tried to improve the team, tried to win at all costs. And as Joe mentioned, ultimately, we got it over the line, but certainly as staff, we don't want to be there again. So it's important, in this pre-season, the start of this pre-season, that we hit the ground running, we implement and apply some other added bits from what we did at the end of the season, the positives from that. And we just got to continue now, but again, ramp it up in all elements of the game.
So did you just get to power down, just literally switch off from football for a few months? Well, say months, a few weeks.
Well, the way Frank is on WhatsApp, you get to switch off for a couple of hours now and then. But that's how it was, because obviously it was a big success, the second half of the game against Palace and the way that panned out. And then obviously we sort of got put back in our place a bit at the Emirates a few days later, which I think we needed, because although, again, from a short-term point of view, the trouble we were in, it was successful to get out of that. It was very quickly, okay, that's done now, but when we come back, we really want to kick on. We don't want to be anywhere near that again. And that takes a lot of work. And, I think we love our jobs. It's enjoyable. I don't think I've ever been at a point where once something finishes at the end of the season, you do just want to stop. You go on holiday, you're with your family, you're by the pool, but straight away you're thinking of, okay, how can we kick this on? You talk to the manager about potential signings, what we're going to work on in pre-season. So the dialogue between us never really stopped. We went on holidays, but we were definitely keen to get back.
Yeah, so how much goes into it? You just mentioned that the talking between so much organising, recruitment, training sessions, an awful lot goes into it.
Yeah, definitely. For me, the organising the training sessions and pre-season is the real key part of the year for that, because there's double sessions. You can go all out in training, whereas when we first came in, it's a difficult one taking over a team in the middle of a season like we did, where we like to play with high intensity. But when you come into what we did and busy fixture periods, you're out on the training pitch at Finch Farm, but you feel like you're constantly having to sort of keep an eye on the load and manage the certain situations. So you can't really go for it and sort of train and play in the way that we would like. So it was a real breath of fresh air to be sitting down sort of at our pads and talking in the summer as to how we were going to kick it on.
So do you break pre-season into chunks and periods? We were at Finch Farm, we're now here, there'll be a bit more once we get back. Do you break the pre-season down into little sections?
Yeah, I mean, we said the first 2 weeks, given as well the fact that in week 1 at Finch Farm we had 6 players missing because the boys that stayed with their national teams in June and went on a bit longer, so we were missing some players. So we made a big point that the first 2 weeks is purely about physical conditioning. So this is where we need to get that real base of fitness, football based. We always like it to be as football based as possible. I mean, you'll see the guys doing runs and physical drills, but that's just add-ons and parts of the sessions. We like it as much as we can to be playing football at high tempo, just doing things like tweaking the area size where there's big pitches, so they really have to open up and run. Then there's the small stuff where it's more about accelerating and strength and that sort of thing. But the sort of performances that were the highlight of what we did at the end, the days where we really dug in against Chelsea and Leicester, the important wins we got, they require the physical capacity to really dig in. And this part of the year now is where you can build that base. So the first couple of weeks isn't too much about, okay, this is the tactical idea for this season. It's everyone, let's start getting yourself where we need to be, and then we'll start shaping the team as we work our way through the friendlies.
Well, despite how hard pre-season is and how it's going, there seems to be a real buzz and a real positive energy about the team. Are you pleased about that?
Yeah, everyone's come back, I think, in relatively, good shape, hungry, which is great, willing to put in the work and do the work that obviously we've assigned to them. And, I'm a firm believer in, it all starts from, the staff, the environment you want to create. And we have a good staff environment, always willing to help and improve the players. But we want to work. And I think, we try to set that tone from the morning and continue that onto the training pitch. And the players have applied themselves very well, diligently in terms of, how they handle the training and the loads. And yeah, I think they've trained well. They've done everything we've asked so far. But again, we speak about now is just about the fitness, and now, getting closer to games, we've really got to start concentrating on how we want to be better as a group, how we want to be seen by, the public as a team that can play, but also mix it and fight. And, we've still got to keep that kind of the toffee style, where we're grafters, and that's what we'll continue to do.
Well, it's been great to see so far in training. Well, despite there being double training session, the roasting Washington sunshine, some of the players still got out and about to see a bit of the American capital. A few of the lads, as well as the boss, joined a well-known Men in Blazers for a special event.
Now we're having a breather. I want to change much more as we go along.
Well, now it's time for Aussie's Quiz. It's a quick one today, made up of only 3 questions. Today, Joe and Ashley will go head-to-head in a game of higher or lower. Questions will be around American football. Well, Soccer. Here we go.
He's played in the MLS.
Well, do you know what?
You're under massive pressure now, by the way. You played in the MLS.
Let's see how it goes. You might be involved in a question as well. So question 1, international caps for America. Clint Dempsey has 141 caps. Is the number of Tim Howard's international caps higher or lower?
Who's first? I'm going higher.
Entirely up to you.
Higher.
Clint Dempsey has 141. Did Tim Howard have more or less?
I'll go lower then if you're going higher.
Yeah, we'll go opposites, yeah? We
Yeah,
just got to
entirely
take
up
it.
to
You
you.
I'll go first next.
Yeah.
The answer is lower.
He's dived in. He's dived
So
in.
busy that.
Great start.
One up.
Tim made 121 appearances for the US national team. So 141 from
Interesting.
Clint.
Thanks, Tim.
So question 2, you to go first, Joe. Appearances for LA Galaxy. Ashley Cole made 89 appearances for LA Galaxy. Is the number of David Beckham's LA Galaxy appearances higher or lower than 89?
89.
I've got a chalky ankle, by the way.
Yeah, you were old then, weren't you? You're getting on. Beckham, is he more? I think he was less. I think he was lower than Ash.
I think, yeah, I've got to go higher, but I think it was less.
Well, the answer is higher.
Oh, so I win. Default.
What, Beckham's got more than
I thought it
Ash?
was lower, but we'll have to go higher.
Ankle.
Yeah, only just though. David Beckham got 98 appearances.
And how long was he there?
Oh, I've not got that kind of information on me.
That's 1-0.
1-0, 1-1.
So the decider, you to go first. Goals in the MLS. Bradley Wright Phillips scored 117. Is the number that Landon Donovan scored higher or lower in the MLS?
I'm going to go lower.
I think it's lower. I'll go higher then.
The answer is higher.
I win.
You went lower?
No way.
So I've got the win on an MLS question, and one of them was
Yeah.
about you. And I've got the win.
That was
Basically, on a
shocking.
50-50, you both chose the wrong answer each time. That's impressive. Landon scored 145 goals and is only second on the all-time list behind Chris, Wodanlowski.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Wondo, they
but
call
we've
him
done it.
Wondo.
Wondo, yeah. Wondo. Alrighty, next up, it's the USA-style shootout. The challenge sees one outfielder take on the goalkeeper in our retro-style contest. So let's have a look how the latest challenger got on after this morning's training session out here in Washington. And we can also take a look at the current leaderboard.
It's that time again. It's time for the American penalty shootout. Lewis Warrington, disappointing score, 2.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask you about the management team. It seems like you've got a really great balance between you all.
Yeah, I think it helps that we've all got a long history together as well. In different ways, we all knew each other. So, you know, the relationship off the pitch is really important. Spend so much time together, away from our families. You know, definitely this last 6 months, we spent more time with each other than our families, which is common in our job. Obviously in a really pressurised situation, so a lot of strong relationships between us, and a real mix, obviously with Frank and Ash's playing background, obviously unbelievable playing backgrounds. Chris and Paul worked with them when they were in the setup at Chelsea. They were staff and Frank and Ash were players, whilst I was in the academy where I also worked with Paul and Chris. And then obviously we've all gone on and done different things in the last few years and come back together. different strengths of people that are more hands-on on the training pitch, more organisational, more sort of doing stuff off the pitch with the players. But I think a real good balance that's worked well so far.
Well, you spoke about the long-term relationships you've all had. How is it with Frank now at the top of it? As a manager, he's still relatively new in terms of managerial careers. How is it working under him?
No, it's been good for me. Obviously, you know, played with him for obviously Chelsea and England, and got to understand his personality and his love for the game and his real intelligence of the game and kind of how we saw football and how we wanted it to be played. So, you know, playing under that and kind of expecting that and seeing that as a player, I always knew he was going to get into it. And yeah, you just, as a player, he was hardworking, dedicated, and it's the same as a manager. I think, as Joe mentioned, you know, earlier, 5, 6 in the morning, he's calling Joe, let's go for a run, let's talk about tactics, let's talk about players. So, you know, he loves his job. So no, in terms of, you know, surprises, there's no surprises there for me. But again,
you're invited on those runs, by the way.
Nah,
you're allowed to come.
But no, yeah, he's very diligent, I would say, in the details of his work. The expectation is high, of course, because he was a top player, and I think the players respect that, but also understand, you know, tactically he's very smart, astute in decisions he makes. And I think, you know, you got to see that at the end of the back end of last season, where everyone was willing to put their head, you know, through walls and put their bodies on the line for him. So, you know, credit to him for that.
Well, with regards to, you know, touching on again last season, you as a management team and for Frank as still a young manager, it was a baptism of fire coming in. How pleasing was it to see all the work that you were obviously doing on the training pitch pay off?
Yeah, it was incredibly tough, and I think one of the experiences we share from, we were all, you know, our experience together was at Chelsea, is that Ash as a player, but me when I was on the coaching team at Chelsea, experiencing the pressure at the top end of the league, the pressure when you're down at the wrong end of the league is so different. I think now having experienced both ends, there's always pressure at Premier League level, but that pressure down in a relegation fight was so different. And the word Ash used earlier was draining. And it did get to the point where towards the end of the season, personally, it became a lot less about the work we were doing on the training pitch in the sessions, and just more about, okay, getting the team selection and the game plan right, but just that spirit amongst the camp and really harnessing that fight and make sure that the energy that the players feed off, it comes from us first, like Ash says, the energy that we're bringing into Finch Farm every day on some of the toughest of days, you know, when I think after the defeat at Burnley away, I probably slept for an hour and a half, but you've got to come in the next day and go again. And
we all did.
Yeah. But that was a new experience, and I think, you know, again, it came from the leader in Frank, in that one of the biggest strengths of it all, when you look back, was how we came together as a fan base and a team on the pitch, and what Goodison became in those important wins that we got, and that came from, I think, the Everton fans being able to see what Frank's all about and how relatable he is to a lot of the values of the club. So it was different to some of the experiences we've had in our careers, but I think looking back on it, I'm really proud to have come through it, because it was tough, and it wasn't all about tactics and training sessions. It was about a lot more than that. But yeah, I think it's experience we all look back on, and we're really grateful for it now, but obviously don't want to go back there.
I just want to touch on something you mentioned there, the relationship that materialised very quickly between yourselves and Frank and the fans, and how there was a real understanding, and the fans' reaction towards the end of the season. How important did you think that was to helping the team achieve what they did?
Well, for me, they were, you know, massive and paramount into, you know, the, if you want to call it success, but, you know, the end of the season, because, you know, them turning up at the training ground, you know, hours before we leave and travel to away games, that was needed. I think, as Joe mentioned, we was all drained. The players were probably drained as well, because ultimately, again, what Joe said, you know, that experience of being at the top, winning trophies, and now you're fighting for, you know, people's lives, people's jobs, people's livelihoods, and that's, you know, a big burden to carry. And, you know, we accepted that burden. So to try give back You know, it was great to see them outside the Finch Farm, you know, ushering us away with flares. That really gave me something I've never felt when I've played in big games. That was something, you know, emotion that I'm like, you know, they're with us now. You know, we've got to repay them. We've got to give everything. And like I said before, put our bodies on the line in certain situations and matches, and they done that. So they was important, and of course they always will be important. But again, it's down to us to entertain them at times as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen the Goodison fans react in that kind of way. I didn't go to the training ground, but certainly the Chelsea, the Man United game, the Brentford game, the Crystal Palace game, it was absolutely incredible. And you've just mentioned that you don't want to be at the bottom end of the league moving forward. So what are the hopes now, and what are you looking for during this next season?
I think first and foremost, when we first came in, it was interesting to see the way the lads were training in the first couple of weeks. There was a lot of stuff that we were really excited about and really impressed. And then, as I said, it was, I think, for me, I really recall that night at Tottenham where terrible performance from, I think, 15 minutes onwards, terrible performance and obviously a terrible result. And that really seemed to shake everyone's confidence. And from there, it felt like even the capabilities that a lot of the players have got, they just weren't able to show it. So even just the basic of a fresh start from a lot of the players, being able to go again and maybe show a better version of themselves than we saw, I'm looking forward to that. And then obviously there was a lot of strengths in the way we played in those final few games where we picked up big points in terms of the fight and the commitment and the togetherness. And we need to keep that. As I said, there's a lot of it where there's some real, you know, values that I would see that Everton teams have to have, especially at Goodison. And we need to keep those elements, but we need to add more quality to it now. We don't want every game to be an absolute fight where we have 25% possession and we need to be managing the clock down from 25 minutes to go. You have to do that. You absolutely have to do that to pick up points in certain games, but we want more games where we're able to take the initiative and have more control and play some good football. So for me, it's about getting that balance to make sure we get the points on the board. You know, the run of form was incredible of how the team was just incapable of even drawing a game. So we need to, that's the starting point of making sure we're as difficult to beat as we were in some of those final games to get the points on the board, but then just showing that we're a good team that can play good football. And that starts with individual performances from the players.
Well, now it's time for the pennant. As we mentioned, every guest on our show, including Joe and Ashley, will be signing this Everton pennant. And for your chance to win it, simply click the link below. And that's it for today. It's time for Joe and Ashley to head off for more planning ahead of our next training session. Gents, thanks very much for taking the time to speak to us, and good luck for the season. But you, the viewer, should stay tuned on evertonfc.com and across our social channels for a lot more exclusive access throughout the trip. See you all soon, and up the Toffees.